Hi, and welcome to the Crit Hit World podcast, where we cover all things Marvel Crisis Protocol, and we cover a new character every week. This week, we're doing Captain Marvel, the new one from the new box, and I'm your host, Fred.
I'm Brad, and she's called Captain Marvel Cosmic Avenger.
Captain Marvel Cosmic Avenger, thank you.
I'm Brandon, and I couldn't stop laughing at Fred not knowing the name of the character that we're doing.
And I'm Steven.
Sigh. I'm sorry. I'm not immediately available to look at every single thing that's going through my head.
How do you not have it pulled up right now?
I do have it pulled up. I just wasn't looking at it.
That's not a better thing. Why did you tell people you had it pulled up and still didn't know the name?
Because I'm a hot mess. That's why.
You're hot and a mess, but not a hot mess.
Hi everybody. How is everyone doing? We're starting off strong today. How are you doing today, Steven?
I'm well. It's a nice and pleasant day up here, actually. We had a big rain come through yesterday, cooled everything off. So let's put it this way. This is what I have right now is perfect for baseball.
Oh, nice. It's pretty warm down here still.
No, we're about 78.
Oh boy.
Breeze off the lake, you know. I'm living the high life.
You're trying to get me to move to Ohio is what you're doing.
Well, not to Ohio just by itself, but yeah, where I'm at, I got this crystal blue lake I'm looking at right now. So,
how are you doing today, Brandon?
I'm good. I played disc golf this morning. So it is hot here. It's very hot. It's kind of overcasting right now, but it was really hot. So
I think that it is supposed to storm in the near future.
it was supposed to storm last night and never really did. So I don't know if it was supposed to today, later tonight. It didn't look like it was going to storm right away. It doesn't show. It shows rain tomorrow, but I'm not seeing any rain today. It looks like it's supposed to rain all day tomorrow, though.
Oh gosh. Oh, don't tell me that. How are you doing today, Brad?
I'm doing fine.
That's good to hear. So let's talk about news with Marvel Crisis Protocol. I think that they have not released anything new since the big drop that they made last week. So I should say it was the second, so it was almost 2 weeks ago. But we record now on Sundays, so this is as soon as we can talk about it. I don't have anything. We've already talked about most of that news, aside from the individual characters that we'll talk about. Do you have any Cerebro news to talk about today, Brad?
No, I don't think I do. Oh yeah, I do. I added the terrain packs and the like special event things that stores can get to the collection manager, so now you can check off whether you own those or not. That's it though.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to some games that we've played recently. I know that Brad and I had a game that we played against each other on Thursday, and it was a pretty interesting match that we had. I was playing the Midnight Suns, and Brad, do you want to talk about your list?
I was playing Brotherhood. Magneto.
Yeah. Magneto with Juggernaut.
Mm-hmm.
And so he went pretty tall. And I was playing Ghost Rider with Blade and obviously Blade, with Iron Fist, Dr. Voodoo, and Wong. And we were playing on Mayor Fisk's and Hammers. I think that we went 18 wide. I think that was correct.
Yeah.
And Brad won this game, but it came down to him having 3 hammers on Juggernaut and me not being able to kill Juggernaut, because Juggernaut is very hard to kill. Man, oh man. I just could not put enough damage on him to take, because I kept plinking away. I kept doing like 1 or 2 damage on each attack, and he would just spend a power and get rid of it.
That's what Juggernaut does.
Yeah. So it came down to him sitting on a point with 3 hammers. So Juggernaut was scoring him 5 points. And if he scored that, he won. And if I was able to remove Juggernaut, I would score those 5 points and I would win. And I could not get him. Which is a shame. But oh well. I think I did all right. It was a pretty close game otherwise.
Yeah.
Well, how about you, Steven? Have you played any games recently?
Yes. This past Thursday, I got to play 2 games with Robbie, who you guys all have met. And I do have to give Robbie credit. He always is trying something that's not exactly popular. So he was running Black Order, Corvus Glaive, no Thanos. And he was trying his darndest to get that list to work. So we rocked up to the table and I said, okay, Robbie, I know you're testing this list because he wants to go to some tournaments, he wants to get better. And I'm all about that. And I said, okay, so do you want to play against a regular team or do you want to play hard mode? He goes, let's just go with a regular team. So I pulled out my Spider Foes. And we played a game on Infinity Formula and Montesi Formula. And we played at 17. And he was also rocking Cosmic Ghost Rider. So his first team was Glaive, Corvus Glaive with the Reality Gem, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Proxima, and Red Guardian. I promptly put out Carnage, Green Goblin, Lizard. Who else? Rhino.
Mm-hmm.
And Bullseye.
Okay.
And Carnage kind of went off.
Yeah.
So after when we started the top of the 3rd round, Robbie's like, let's just do a reset. I'm like, okay.
Oh wow. So it was that he went off that hard. Carnage did.
Yeah. He well, a lot of people haven't played him in a while and they forget things about him. Like one of the greatest things on his card is that you're when you're defending, you don't explode your crits, and that makes him hit that much harder. So with that, I got to do a I forget, Carnage Rules. Yeah, Carnage Rules. So I bring Proxima in. I then promptly kill her. Then I move forward, and then I do a Paint the Town Red, and then I go into Corvus. And he goes, okay, so you only have 1 more attack. And I'm like, no, that was a card. That was a superpower.
Just like you have
X23,
2 more attacks.
And then I have 2 more attacks. And he's like, oh no. So
wow.
Yeah. When Carnage goes off, it's horrendous.
Yeah.
So we did reset, and then we ended up on Intrusion and Senators at 19. And this was more of a battle. So this game, I took out Carnage and I put Mysterio in. trying him out, and he actually did pretty good, to tell you the truth. There was one instance where we were up. Mister had gotten off Grand Illusion and the Reality Gem, and there was a point of contention about how things worked. We finally figured it out, and I had I had thought incorrectly about how that would react with the Reality Gem, so maybe the game would have changed a little bit differently. But I was so far ahead on points. He killed everything except for Lizard, but I had gotten so many points ahead of that. He was running Super Giants,
Ooh.
Corvus, and Ebony Maw. Let me see here. And then, Cosmic Ghost Rider, because he was 6. And the thing we learned about Cosmic Ghost Rider is that he is really not that good for scenario play.
Oh yeah, no. he's very bad at it. That's not what he wants to do.
So the thing about Ghost Rider, Cosmic Ghost Rider, is if you see him across the table, the best advice I can give is get up on points as quick as possible. Round 1, round 2. And then he can kill anything he wants, right? I'm not worried about that. Because, like, I scored 3 points in the first round, and then I scored 6 points. I was at 9 points. And, he had scored 3 and then 1. So, it was 4-9, and I had a 5-point cushion. And I'm just like, this is going to be easy then.
Mhm.
Because, I just prevent his people from picking up senators. And then intrusions allows you to do that pretty well because you can teleport all over the place. Except if you have senator, of course. So, lessons learned. So the game ended up 11-12. Or, excuse me, 9-12. 9-12.
Oh, okay.
But it ended on turn 6, and Lizard was my only guy left. So
Yeah, so he was doing Black Ordery things.
oh yeah, I mean, and
His Black Order list was very interesting. So, did Supergiant do a lot in this matchup?
no, because Lizard was throwing her about basically.
Yeah, she seems pretty easy to make less relevant if you can just move her away from the action.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, Mr. Mysterio went up against Cosmic Ghost Rider and held his own, which was kind of surprising.
Good
So,
lord, that is surprising.
yeah, no, I got off because Ghost Rider was like bumped right up against him and for over that middle point for intrusions, and I'm like, okay, Cosmic Ghost Rider's causing me problems. Here we go. I had enough power. I did a curtain call and I staggered him, right? So
Okay.
that kind of put things into perspective. And Rhino did Rhino things. He was pretty terrible to everybody. So, but yeah, Lizard basically held off on Super Giant, and he also put Ebony Maw on his back foot a little bit too. So, because they get placed by that little push that Lizard has on his tail whip every once in a while. Then Lizard gets to throw people if he has enough power. So I mean, it was one of those things. So
Lizard is one of those characters that purports himself really well in a scenario type game. He's just he has so much table presence.
Yeah. So
like one of the best 3-point models in the game. Is really good.
Yeah,
and
I think he might be.
and he could not kill my Dr. Octopus for anything.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was kind of funny how long Dr. Octopus stood around. So, he gets me down, dazes me and flips me, and then I'm like, well, they planned. His people are holding things, and I just scoot them away from him, and he's just like this because he can't come in and attack because he's Black Order, and that's what he wants to do, right? So obviously you set the objectives back, so he has to move back to get them. He might be out of range for his attacks then, right? So
Yeah, that's you're forcing him to play a game he doesn't want to play.
mhm. Yeah. So yeah, my list was Rhino, Goblin, Lizard, Doctor Octopus, Bullseye, and Mysterio.
I like your list. I like your list a lot. That's I miss playing. I love the Midnight Suns, but I do sometimes miss playing the Spider Foes.
Yeah, they're just so I don't say random, but they're just such a different play style. And
Mm-hmm.
they're like a little porcupine where you just don't know what you should do all the time because there's something that might pop up. And admittedly, with a new pack coming out with Sandman, Electro, Shocker, and Vulture, I'm more than excited to see what happens. So
Yeah, and new Doc Ock.
through, but I might. Well, I'm going to get the new core set, obviously, but the new Doc Ock. The old Doc Ock has his uses. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, you can't use well laid plans with the new Doc Ock,
no,
and
you
that's
can't.
that's
And
a
a
real big mark against him.
and a 3 fits in where a 4 might not. So
But
Right,
if you play the new Doc Ock, you don't have to play Green Goblin.
that's true.
well, but I do like Green Goblin.
I do too.
So
Green. I'm a defender. I'm a Green Goblin defender. So
no, I think what it is, I go pure Spider Foes, and then if I do play the new Doc Ock, I'm taking out Kingpin. So his Kingpin really doesn't fit in with a Spider Foes plan unless you want to switch out to Criminal Syndicate.
I don't
right.
think. Yeah, I think when the new box comes out, there's no reason for you to have to play Kingpin unless you want to play a good affiliation in Criminal Syndicate.
Mhm. Oh, check you out doing spins. So yeah, shout out to Robbie for trying new stuff. Hopefully, he can get the practice in that he needs to get to where he feels he's competent with it. So we'll see. Like I said, I didn't put him on hard mode, so I wasn't playing my Midnight Sun.
Right.
So.
All right. So, do you have any games that you want to talk about, Brandon?
I'm playing Pokemon Emerald right now.
That's a good one.
Which one is, which one is Emerald? Which?
Emerald is the third, and it's the third Gen 3 game, so it was Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald.
Okay.
It's the
Okay.
one with Rayquaza on the cover.
Okay. A good generation. A very good game.
Fun fact, I skipped Generation 3. I have never played Generation 3 until I bought Emerald a couple months ago.
Are you enjoying it?
So far, yeah, it's been good. I as a kid, I think I was in middle school when it came out. I hated the starters, and I thought Groudon and Kyogre were just stupid, so I did not play Ruby or Sapphire. And then Emerald kind of came out like it came out sneakily, and it came out right before Leaf Green and Fire Red, and I was like, playing those. Those are
Right.
Gen 1 and Gen 2, like I'm in. And so I just kind of skipped Gen 3. And then they did the remakes on the 3DS, and I didn't have a 3DS, and so I just kind of like missed them completely. It's like the only generation I didn't play besides no, it's the only gen I didn't play. Yeah.
Uh,
So.
I can say that the remakes were very good. I did
I
play the remake.
Yeah, I really want to get a copy of Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby because I heard they're very, very good.
I think that I've offered this before to you, but I need to track down where those exist, and I can maybe give you the Mega Ruby.
Yeah, I need to get them. I have collected at this point the majority of the Pokemon games. Like I have Red, Blue, I have Silver, Gold, I have Crystal, I don't have any of Gen 3 besides Emerald, and then I have Soul Silver. I've got Black, Platinum, XY, Moon, Sun, Ultra Moon, Ultra Sun, all the Switch versions of the games.
Oh wow. And you're getting both versions for each generation?
Yeah. Yeah, the exclusivity of certain Pokemon makes it. There are some that are a little bit harder for me to pick up both copies because mostly because of like the remakes and stuff. So like right now I have the two remakes of Diamond and Pearl for the Switch. I don't have Diamond and Pearl for the DS. I have Platinum, which was one they didn't remake. So I effectively own both. So it takes like so when I see Diamond and Pearl for sale, I'm just like, but I have the better version of this game already.
Right.
In
And
two different ways. Like I have the better version because it's the remake on the Switch, and I have the better version, which is Platinum, which was like the expansion version, I guess is the way to look at
the
it.
complete version
The
are some of the
DLC
older
version.
ones, yeah, are some of the older ones way more expensive too? Like I know that the price for some of these classic games is shooting up in the resale market.
So right now, Pokemon Blue goes for about $57. Crystal's like 115 to 150. Emerald's right around $200.
Yeah.
Soul Silver is like 125 to like 170. All the original DS games are like right around like 80 to 100. Like so, like your Black, White, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum are all, and like Soul Silver, like all the regular DS games are worth a good bit. Like Red, Blue, and Yellow, and Silver and Gold are all around like the 50 to like $75 mark.
Okay.
So
Okay.
like,
I mean, so none of that's as crazy as I was worried that you were gonna say.
yeah, I mean the
You know,
most
some of
expensive
these.
ones are like Leaf Green, like the advanced ones are right around that number. Like Soul Silver complete in box is like 165. Like platinum, like so like emerald, so like crystal, emerald, like black 2 and white 2, and then like platinum are kind of like your more expensive ones. Like platinum complete in box is close to like 150. Emerald heart only is over 200, like right around 200. Crystals in that like 120 range for cart
Oh,
only. Black 2 and White 2 are probably the most, to me, the biggest oddity because like
they weren't great.
I don't think anybody bought them is
Yeah.
really why I think they're worth money. But like Black 2 and White 2 go. Oh, that's the Japanese version. The American version, complete in box, is like 140.
And and that's purely for the nostalgia take.
So
I mean, neither one of those were, you know,
I think
widely
it's
considered to be great
yeah,
in the series.
I think it's just rarity. So like the third version of games, like Crystal was the third one, so it's um like people didn't buy Crystal because it was just like a slightly like a DLC version of Silver and Gold. So like it's worth more than Gold and Silver because I don't think people bought as many crystals. Same thing with Emerald and Platinum. And I think the same thing happened with Black 2 and White 2. I think the same thing will happen with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Like, I don't think anyone bought those games. Like, and I think that's why they're worth more because I don't think anybody bought them.
Well, it's the nostalgia factor, and it's the collector's factor. Because I happen to know that someone recently bought an iPhone 1 still in its packaging for like $130,000.
It's
Some insane price.
160.
160? Yeah, okay. It was an absurd amount of money.
Yeah, which is
And
crazy, right?
yeah, for an item that is of very little use because it is just completely obsolete. I don't even know if
A
it'll run
a complete
anymore.
in box version of Pokemon Crystal goes for about $700.
Oh boy. Oh my goodness. Okay,
Yeah.
we can. I
Yeah.
enjoy talking about this, but we need to move on. I think because this is very interesting to me, but it is also very niche. um. All right, let's move. Is there anything else you want to talk about, Brandon? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I have nothing
Well,
else to contribute to that.
Fred, you just basically did your non sequitur.
Oh boy, I kind of did, didn't I?
The value of some games is astronomically different. It's like kind of hilarious the price of some old games, like, and like some are just wildly, like there are some that you'd look at and you're like, oh, that's like that should be worth like way less or way more, and it's like $5, and then it's like then you look at other games and you're like, this is worth way more because it's just like who
Brand-
knows, like.
Brandon, the law of economics. Anything is worth what somebody's willing to pay for it.
Yeah. Well, it's like so like a big example is like Mega Man X on the Super Nintendo is the best Mega Man X game. It's a $30 game. Mega Man X3, which is widely considered meh, is like a $350 game.
Because no one had it.
Yeah, it's just because like no one bought it, and then now the people who want to collect it have to spend a fortune if they want like an English version of the game.
No,
Yeah.
I was just referring to that our Captain Marvel that we're doing today transforms, right? Hence, you guys were talking about Pokemon.
She does technically evolve.
All right, let's move on. Is there anything else that we need to talk about before we talk about the person that we're here to talk about today? Because I don't think that there is. I think that this is going to be one of our shorter episodes, I believe.
Can we talk about how you just made a really, really big word salad with the talk in it?
I do that a lot. I apologize, everybody. Everyone out there, I'm sorry. I'm tired. I'm tired. And that's my excuse all the time. All right. So we are here today to talk about Captain Marvel Cosmic Avenger, otherwise known as Carol Danvers. And we're going to have to this is a complicated card because there are two cards. She has two versions. There's a transformation that occurs with her. So I will start us off with her first card. This is her in her normal version. She is 4 physical defense, 4 energy defense, and 4 mystic defense. She has 7 HP on both sides, 7 stamina, I should say. She's threat 5, size 2, and she moves medium. Her attack suite, it starts with an energy attack called Photon Blast, which is range 4. It throws 5 dice, and it costs no power. And it has the normal builder rule, and then it has Wild Pursuit, where before damage is dealt, this character may advance towards the target character's short. The second attack on this card is a physical attack called Sonic Boom. It's range 3 and throws 6 dice, and it is also cost 0. So to make it clear to everyone, that means that on this card, on her normal version, she does not have a spender. Sonic Boom is also a builder. It has the normal builder rules, and it has Wild Concussive, where after this attack is resolved, the target character loses 1 power. Steven, why don't you go over the remaining powers on this card?
Sure. All right. So she has 4 more powers, 4 powers on this side of the card, and they're all innate, so they don't cost her any power. First, we have enhanced energy absorption. When this character is defending against an energy or mystic attack, for each wild in the defense roll, it may change one of the attacker's critical, wild, or hit results to a blank. This character gains 1 power for each die changed this way. Second, we have higher, further, faster at the start of the character's activation. If it has 6 or more power, it transforms into Captain Marvel Cosmic Avenger binary. Next, we have You Call That a Punch. When this character is dealt damage by an enemy effect, after the effect is resolved, it gains 1 power. Last but not least, we have the innate power of flight and also immunity to incinerate and poison.
Okay. And Brandon, why don't you swap over to her binary form, and why don't you give the attack suite for her binary form?
All right. So nothing changes on her defensive stats or health pool in binary form or movement or anything. Size stays the same. Everything on that side stays the same. For everyone curious and listening on Spotify and can't see the card. Binary Blast cost 1 power. It's range 2. It throws 6 dice. After this attack is resolved, the character pushes the target character short and has Wild Incinerate. The next attack costs 3 power. It throws 8 dice and it's range 3. After the attack resolve, you'll place Captain Marvel Cosmic Avenger within 2 of the target character as a wild throw with no size restriction. And for a crit and a wild, it has explosive. So before damage is dealt, other enemy characters within 2 of the target characters suffer 1 damage.
Oh boy.
And specifies other enemy characters, so it won't hit your characters, which is a positive.
Yeah. And Brad, why don't you go over the next 3 superpowers?
I'm just getting warmed up. It's active, cost 2. Choose an interactive terrain feature, enemy character size 4 or less. Throw it within range 2. Throw it medium once per turn. Ready or not, active free. It's an action. Makes a move followed by an attack action. Can only be used once per turn. How many did you say?
Do the next one. The reason I said not to do I'll go over it, but do the next one.
Okay. I don't need a power up to kick your butt. It's reactive. It's free. When a character spends or loses energy after the effect is resolved, this character has 3 or less power. It may use this superpower. This character transforms into Captain Marvel, Cosmic Avenger normal.
And she also has enhanced energy absorption on this card as well. It's the exact same as the one that's on her normal version. And then she has flight and immunity to incinerate, poison, stagger, and stun on her binary form. Oh boy, so that was a lot to take in, everyone. So let's go over some of these highlights. One thing that I want to say before we go too in depth on her is that these models, this is not like the old version where binary form was just a token that you put on. There's a brand new model that comes out, and it looks awesome. These models look great. This is some high quality Atomic Mass Games model production. And also, I really like how this character is going to work. I really think that this is pretty strong, especially on her binary form side. Being immune to stagger and having access to as many throws as she has access to. I guess they're on her spender. It's on a wild trigger, which can be annoying. But
8 dice.
she also. Sorry, what?
But 8 dice.
Yes, yeah. Oh, on 8 dice, which is better. And if you're under the new Captain America's leadership, it's much more likely. And then also having a terrain feature or enemy character throw that you can throw for 2. And it throws a size 4, so that's Hulk. And throw it medium. That is a lot of throws that you can make happen. This is a real brawler of a character. All right, what is everyone's take? Because there's a lot to cover here. Why don't we start with Brandon? Brandon, what are you seeing when you look at this card?
She's the first character with immune to stagger. Is that right?
Uh,
No.
I
No.
think that Logan has it on his. Oh, not Logan. Wolverine has it on his
Injured
injured
side.
side. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dormammu.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but the only ones that are kind of like like not an 8 threat character on their healthy side. I didn't consider the injured side. I was thinking like because you can put her in binary pretty much on turn 1 in a lot of lists.
Oh boy, really? How do you get there? I'm curious. Is all. I'm just I don't see how. Just because she has to have 6 power in order to at the beginning of her.
Well, I guess mostly on like turn 2, like consistently, but on turn 1, like so in turn 1, like if you're playing, I mean it'd be not turn 1 because it's the start of the character activation. I meant more turn 2. I kind of forget turn 1's just kind of moving people into place more than anything.
Yeah.
Turn 2 is the real turn 1 in this game.
Okay.
That's what because I was thinking. I was like, what? I was like, well, you move and you can make an attack, and then like you get like 2 power, like, and you get an extra power with like this affiliation, and now you have like 6 when you get your power in the power phase. But then I was like, oh, that's turn 2, so that's my bad. Um, I think she's interesting. Um, at 5 threat, I'm not like you really want her in her binary form.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not.
She's pillow fisted in her normal form by a pretty
Yeah,
big margin.
and this is like it's really reminds me of Angela, and Angela can die pretty easy. To like into war, like in your scenario, if you want like to try to throw 3 times, like you are spending a lot of power. Um, I like that you don't have to like send her back into normal form, right? Like if I read that right, like you don't have to do that.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
so
the only way to gain power in her binary form is
the
getting
absorption.
hurt. Oh, and
Yeah.
absorption, yeah. So she has to be attacked to get power.
Yeah, which is gonna be interesting because her attacks aren't great on her normal side. Um,
They're not terrible. I mean,
They
a
are
range
free.
for five.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean they're
five
free. Like
dice.
they're fine. Like they're fine, but for a 5 threat character, like I don't want
Yeah.
anything to do with this normal side for 5 threat.
Yeah,
Like if
you're
you
right.
have to, and if you have to spend more than, if you have to spend two, if you set to spend 3 activations in a game in that form, it's not worth it. And I think most games you're probably going to be in this form at least two, like if you don't have like if you are playing her in a faction where you can't get off like the 6th power, like if you don't, so if you like photon blast or sonic boom on turn 1 and you don't do but like 1 or 2 damage, like if you do 1 damage, so now you only have like if you're going into turn 2 with like 3, like so now the start of your 3rd activation is when you get to put her in binary. I think that's really, really bad, and I think that's going to happen more times than not. And even if you're playing the game where you're trying to force her to have all the power, like if you advance R&D, you can play with Wong and give her power. You can advance R&D. You can do all these things like with the Inhumans can give her power. But even at that point, like you've kind of put all your eggs in a basket to maybe have one really good turn and then not be able to gain power again. It just seems really lackluster to me. That one turn could be like game changing, but if it's not, I've played a lot of big baddies that like to have those kinds of turns, and when they feel really bad when they don't go off, and kind of like on Warboard, everything being like really focused on the wild. Like if you don't hit the wild, like you don't get that throw, like that's gonna hurt really bad. Like the odds are gonna be pretty high to hit the wild, but you don't hit it, like you're gonna feel really bad. Having a range 2 throw um, is still gonna be good, but at the same time, it's not doing a whole lot. There's no tech that's gonna keep her alive defensively. Um, So I'm pretty
Well,
lackluster on this character.
I think that enhanced energy absorption does do a pretty nice. It's good in certain matchups. It obviously doesn't work against physical, which is the most common attack type in the game. But being able to change a wild into a blank, and it's for every single wild. So if the enemy has a wild trigger, you can make it so that it doesn't happen.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things though, like where she matches up. Kind of, you mentioned that like she can throw a Hulk. Hulk just kills her though, right?
Oh yeah,
Like,
You probably do not want to use her against Hulk. Hulk
yeah.
will just annihilate her.
Well,
And
and think of
and,
all the
and that's where
size.
most people are going to use her, right?
Yeah, all the
Yeah.
size 4 characters you want to use her against because you have a size 4 throw are just going to probably kill her.
Oh boy, you might be
Rhino
right.
Rhino won't because Rhino doesn't really kill anything. He just moves around. He runs. My Rhino doesn't kill anything. Other rhinos might kill things. My Rhino doesn't kill anything. My Rhino he just throws a pillow at people and then runs away. I don't know what else he's supposed to do, but
You are kind of right that her biggest weakness is that against a physical attack, the only thing that's protecting her is her 4 physical defense, which is
yeah, which is good.
pretty good. It's pretty
But
good, but that's it. That's the
but
only
and
defense she has.
yeah, and Angela and we learned a long time ago when Angela came out that 4 defense isn't going to save her.
Yeah.
Like it's just I mean, if you think of like the best characters in the game, almost all of them have physical attacks. Like we still live in a physically dominated world game, so I'm trying to think of like a really really good character that doesn't have a physical attack.
I mean, there are
Doctor
some. Yeah,
Doctor
Doctor
Strange.
Strange. A lot of the Midnight
Voodoo.
Sun. Yeah.
Doctor, if you're playing Doctor Strange's leadership, guess what? You can make it physical.
No
Oh,
one does that,
yeah.
Brandon.
You're right.
Nobody
Yeah,
does
I mean,
that.
yeah, but you're also not worried about Voodoo's attacks, right? Like that's not why you're playing Doctor Voodoo.
Yeah.
He's
I
got to
mean,
make
I'm just talking about.
power.
who?
I mean, they are. I'm just trying to think of a character that like you're looking at and like, oh, that thing can kill me, and it's like, but they all have physical attacks. Like all the Hulks, Ulick.
Well, Pyro has
Uh,
all energy attacks, right?
yeah,
I think
Yeah.
to Brandon's point though still stands is that physical is and it is the most common attack type, and her defensive tech does not work against physical attacks.
it's entirely too dominant in this game, especially right now, that it kind of makes it a little hard. Even in this box, I mean, I've only seen 2 of the character cards, but I can't imagine there's a whole lot of energy attacks on the like bad guy side. Like if you're just playing, if you're playing literally just like the core set against each other.
Well, I will say this: there are more energy attacks on the bad guy's side than there were in the original box. I will say that.
I have no
But
idea. I mean, I
um,
trust you. I legitimately have no idea.
you're correct that there are a lot of physical attacks also. So I don't think I think that she can be quite a bit of a glass cannon. Now she gets a free move basically every turn while she's in binary form, which is
I would also like to clarify that like characters in a starter box should not be busted or like game changing. So I think this is a
I agree.
very well designed card for a starter box. And I think she'll play. I think if you want to play her, you can play her elsewhere. Like I don't want to say that like you shouldn't play her. Like she fits really well. I don't know. I don't think. I hope none of these characters are like super overpowered or broken. Like I don't think we should have a Baron Zemo from the original core box in this core box. Like
Right.
a character
Uh,
that's just absolutely busted. So
I think that they have managed to toe that. I don't think that any of them are absolutely busted good. I think that they are. I mean, I think that a lot of them are good, and a lot of them will get play even outside of a core box game.
yeah, they've done a
But
really good job in the last 6 months to a year of in design. To like most of the characters have been pretty well. Um, on the same kind of basis. Kind of since Malekith, I think they've all been pretty much. They've been pretty even, like, in ratings. We haven't got like a terrible character, and we haven't got like a broken character.
Right. They've been doing a much better job of playtesting and making sure that everything functions the way that it
Yeah.
should be.
They've been very consistent in character creation, in my opinion.
So,
Since Malekith.
let's do. Oh, okay. I want to let Steven and Brad have a talk about this character also. Steven, what is your take here on Captain Marvel?
I really don't like her.
You really don't like her. Okay.
No. Everybody's all gaga about her, and I understand the reason, but the only way I would like her, I really don't understand. This is Captain Marvel, right? She doesn't get weaker, you know what I mean? But why doesn't she have a throw on her normal form, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, that would put her as a playable character. So people can take your throw offline by keeping you in your normal form, and they can do that by stunning you, right?
Yeah. You can get
And
stunned,
then
and then you'd be.
and then draining your power, okay, with like Rogue out of all people, right?
I mean,
Canonically,
that's fitting though.
yeah, that is fitting. Deadpool can even do it. You know what I mean? So it's one of those, or anybody who has a sap power, you know, like Bucky and his new rifle, right? For those wilds, you take power away. He would, and it's physical, and it's going to go right into her. So it's just one of those things. It's like, why don't they have a throw with both iterations of this character? So for me, that just puts her right out, you know.
Okay. I mean, you're correct that like the the normal side being as weak and lackluster as it is for being a 5 threat model and possibly getting stuck in that if you're not able to generate the 6 you need.
On yeah, on her normal side, she's a 3.5, maybe a 4, and
I think she's a 3. On
and
the
th-
normal side.
and then she goes up to maybe a 5 because she's not even a good 5 at that point. You know what I mean?
I think she is a good 5 in the binary form. I
I
mean,
I, I do not
the,
think so.
she gets a free
not
move.
without power.
She's able to move for free. I think that once per turn
I will
and still
introduce
get
you to
2 attacks.
Pyro. I will introduce you to Loki.
Well, I mean, I agree that those are both very good, and I'm not trying to say that she's better than them because I don't think she is. I just think that I think that
There,
she on her
there, are,
binary side is very good.
there are 5s I would take over her, most
Oh,
definitely.
I agree. I agree. I definitely agree with that statement.
So yeah, she's totally out for me. Everybody's going to go gaga over her, and it's going to be like, good luck, you know, with your self-imposed self-imposed taxation and your self-loathing. So,
Yeah. Well, Brad, what is your take on Captain Marvel?
I think she looks fun. I think she'd be fun to play.
I agree with that take.
I want to put her on the table and play with her.
So I think that we are looking at her from a full game perspective. Maybe it would be better to look at her in the context of being in the starter kit. Like she's gonna be a go-to that people grab very early when they're playing the Avengers early on in their games. And I think that they're going to be really impressed with her. I think she's going to be one of those characters that if you see her, if you're playing a starter kit game where you're either playing as the Avengers or the Cabal, I guess there are two other affiliations that you could play, but let's just I'm gonna keep looking at her through the Avengers perspective. Uh, she's very good. Her triggers happen a lot more frequently under the new Captain America affiliation, and
Point of
she's
order.
yeah. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
It costs you a power
That's
to
true.
do.
I mean, you're right.
And and on this side, she really doesn't want to be, she wants to spend as minimal as she wants to in binary form.
I mean, you're correct because she will burn out of power. Yeah, you're right. And the fact that she can't generate power, if she has to go, I think that if she has to go back to being her normal self when she's already in binary, she's gonna be. That's a bad situation for her.
If
Mm-hmm.
you have to play if you have to have 3 activations of her in her normal form, I think you're in a really bad spot.
Yeah.
But transform
Okay.
characters are usually fun, and there are fun ways you can like try to get around making her like transform and stuff. And like I said, if you're playing the starter box, like you're probably playing games that probably go at minimum 5 rounds. So like if you can get her in binary for 2 or 3 of those, like you're probably gonna have a lot more fun.
Yeah. Okay. I think that is there anything else anyone would like to say about her?
She looks like fun. Play her.
But she's not a mutant, Brad.
She was in the X-Men comics for quite a while. She counts.
That was not my statement. My statement was that she is not a mutant.
Not all X-Men are mutants.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
I can name lots of X-Men that aren't mutants.
okay.
There's someone on the current X-Men team that's not a mutant.
Oh no. Oh no. I've done it now.
This is madness.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about. Are there any tactics cards that are specific for this Captain America? I don't think
Captain
that
Marvel.
Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel. Sorry.
So
I don't think there are.
there is.
Yeah.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, Overcharge is a new one coming in the core set.
Overcharge. Okay. I just looked up Marvel on. Oh, I see it. Okay.
There's another one that she can do.
There is another one she can do. That one came in the Spider-Woman pack. But this one's new, so we can talk about it first.
Okay.
It's an attack card.
Okay. Overcharge.
Yeah.
It gives you an attack during Thor Odinson's or Carol Danvers activation. The active character may spend 5 power. I'm out already.
Yeah.
May spend 5 power to play this card. Choose an allied Tony Stark within range 5 of the character that played this card. Tony Stark immediately makes the attack listed above, and it is a energy attack called Overcharge. It's area 2, and it throws 6 dice. And after each attack is resolved, this character gains 1 power. This character meaning Tony Stark.
Yes.
And then after each attack is resolved, the target character gains the shock special condition. That is not worth 5 points.
No.
5 power. That is
don't
not
The
worth
literal
it.
worst thing you can do with this Carol Danvers is spend 5 power to do that attack.
Yeah, that's not worth that. It does give you a free attack because I don't think that does it. Does
No,
it say
it does
action?
not take. They have
It
started
does not
with
take action.
they have started with this corset where it says active.
Action.
It'll say action next to it if it takes an action.
Right.
Do you not remember me going over that like forever yesterday or last cast, Brad? That was like the most exciting excited I got during that one.
I do remember, and I was looking at it after I was talked through that card just to see if it cost an action, and it did
It's
not.
like my favorite thing they've done in the last like 2 years, besides giving me like two and a half months of a busted Malekith. That was a really good time.
Yeah.
Do you want to know my hot take on this card?
What's your hot take?
We are probably within the year getting a new Thor.
Yeah, because it says Thor Odin's son instead of.
Yep.
Yep. You're probably correct, and that's pretty exciting. Okay, so that was Overcharge. What is the other card that she
On
can
patrol.
play? On patrol. I see. Spider Woman and Carol Danvers. Okay. It is an unaffiliated card. It is reactive, and an allied Spider Woman or allied Carol Danvers may spend 2 power to play this card during the power phase. This round, whenever an enemy character interacts with or picks up an objective token, both Carol Danvers and Spider Woman may advance short. So, I've got a question. Does that mean that only one of them has to do it, and then both of them get to advance short?
Yes.
This is much more usable.
It also, you don't have to have both of them in your list.
Right. This is an A Force, like it's unaffiliated, but you would use this in the A Force affiliation. I guess you could bring Spider Woman with Carol Danvers. I think that's pretty
They're both
useful.
Avengers too.
Yeah. I don't think that it's an effect that would mean that I would staple it to the back of the card, though. It's a relatively minor effect. It is useful, but it's not like
Free movement's always useful, right?
right.
So, with going over Carol Danvers, there are 2 cards she cannot use. Just to remind people, she cannot use the Air Force, which is the one that goes with War Machine, because it specifically says Captain Marvel, and also Fan Club, which is paired with Miss Marvel.
Right.
So, got to keep that in mind.
Yep. That is. I'm glad that you pointed that out. I have a question for everyone on the cast. Do you think that they're going to go over some of the cards that exist and change the wording so that they will work for new cards?
No.
Or do you think? Okay.
No.
Brad, you're saying no.
No.
Well, I see Brad's point, because then effectively you make cards that came out previously for earlier characters totally useless, right? Because
and the repulsor refraction existing leads me to believe that if they want it to work with the new cards, they'll just make new cards.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, they just made a new Ricochet Blast.
Yeah.
And just made it different. I think that's a very good point.
Right, but I mean, if you really wanted to run Fan Club, so you would have to run the older version of Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, and Miss Marvel. You couldn't do it with the transforming binary lady here.
Right.
And if they wanted a card like that, they would just print a new one with a different name.
That's fair. That's fair. I think that Brad is probably correct. I think that you raise a very good point.
I still would stand by my possibly, because you never know, right?
Yeah, you're right. They could just make it a case by case basis.
The fact that they want to have formats where there are certain legalities, they're gonna do the same thing with cards. I don't think they'll change anything on any of the cards. They might change a couple, but they're not gonna do like a mass sweep to include names.
I will make a prediction on that. If there's only going to be one iteration of a character ever, that's when I believe that they might change a card. So
I'm trying to think. Okay.
Like maybe, well, let's say you have Fan Club, right? The one we just mentioned. All right. if there's only going to be one iteration of Miss Marvel ever, okay, they might change fan club to say Carol Danvers instead.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because they have no intention of ever making a new Miss Marvel, and they want to make that card valid
Playable.
with the new
Yeah,
Captain Marvel.
exactly.
Okay. Yeah. I see. Well, so that is our take on Captain Marvel, the Cosmic Avenger, and we need to give her a letter grade. And I believe that we might be all over the place this time. So I guess I'll kick us off today. I think that she's a solid B minus of a 5-pointer. I know that that's probably giving her a lot of credit, but I do think that she can perform a lot on the table, especially if you get enough power on her and the opponent is mistakenly attacking her quite often. I think that she could be have a lot of table presence on her binary form side. So I'm giving her a B minus. What are you giving her, Brandon?
I'm glad we can be back to being our natural selves here. I'm also going to give her a minus, but it's going to be a C minus.
That's real harsh. Okay. All right.
I don't think this character. The fact, like, the idea of having to keep her in her normal form for up to 3 turns is terrible.
Okay. All right. So that's a C minus. Okay, Steven, what are you gonna give her?
E plus.
Okay.
I'm quite serious about that.
A B plus. Okay.
No, D.
Oh,
D.
As in
D
D.
plus. I
D plus.
misheard you. I thought you were joking. Okay.
Yeah,
A D
I'm
plus.
even more sour on her than Brandon is.
Okay. All right. And Brad, what are you going to give her?
Well, I thought I was going to give her a B minus, but after hearing Brandon and Steven, I decided that I'm going to give her a B.
So we are
Whatever.
spread out. This is one of our more spread out ones. We've got a D plus and a B. That's a wide gap. And I think that this is going to be one that we'll just have to see how she affects the meta. She may never get taken outside of a core box game. We'll see.
Well, I mean, with the spread that we have, she probably, with our assessment, hopefully, and we're not too wrong, she's going to land somewhere between the B and the D plus.
I think that that's correct. I think you're right. We've cast a wide enough net that we are bound to
Some
be
of us
right.
are a little higher on her. Some of us are really down on her.
If you
So,
throw a big enough net, you'll catch something. So.
Well, that is our take on Captain Marvel Cosmic Avenger. Brad, do you have any comic book recommendations where Carol Danvers appears?
I do, and I had to go back and listen to our first Carol Danvers episode to make sure I didn't repeat myself, and I'm glad I did because the first 2 things I thought of are on that episode.
Oh
But
boy. Was I on that episode?
no, you were not.
This was before I came to the podcast.
That episode was me, Jared, and Borka.
Oh wow.
That's it. That's who was on that episode. So luckily I did think of another one that I wanted to recommend that I had not done on that. And then I've got another one. So first of all, go back and listen to those old recommendations because they're good stuff. New recommendations. I have The Life of Captain Marvel from 2018. This is by Margaret Stoll, Carlos Pacheco, and Marguerite Sauvage. And this is a retelling of Carol's life story. Some of it is a retelling of things found in other comics, like the recommendations I made last time. But some of the information about her early life is things we haven't seen before. It's a great way to get caught up on her entire story before reading my next recommendation, which is Captain Marvel 2019. This is by Kelly Thompson, Carmen Carnero, and others. So I'm the only one that like consistently reads comics on here and like pays attention to the comics business, I think. And nowadays it is very hard to get a series to last more than 5 issues. The big companies will do 5 issues no problem, and unless it sells really really well, they'll just cancel it there. It's like a little mini series. That's especially true if it's for an individual character instead of a team. So like there's going to be a comic called X-Men. There's going to be at least one comic called Avengers. And those are going to go on for a long time. But like the recent Captain Britain comic, Betsy Braddock Captain Britain, it only lasted 5 issues, even though it is great and everyone should read it. But I'm telling everyone this because this series is 50 issues.
Holy moly.
Yeah, that you don't see that often. It's really really good. Maybe the best Captain Marvel series ever.
Okay.
I mean, you could argue. It's a must read if you're a Carol fan. A couple highlights from the series. One arc has Carol going to the future, and the future is bad, and she has to figure out why and fix it. And another arc, much later in the series, is her teaming up with some X-Men to fight the Brood, and it is very, very good. And
Okay.
it makes references to her entire history. It's very well written. Read it. It's good.
The Brood are the are the xenomorph aliens, right?
Yes.
They're basically
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
They're probably coming to the game too,
Ooh. Okay.
because we saw them on a tactics card.
Okay.
That doesn't mean we're gonna get them in the game. They
Well-
have stated that many times that just because they're on a tactics card doesn't mean they'll be in the game.
But the probability went up, is what I'm saying.
Sure.
Nimrod's on a card too.
Nimrod will probably get. I won't argue that one.
Okay then. Brandon, is there a list or an affiliation where you think that Carol Danvers can really shine?
I think you play her in A-Force. She'll probably be affiliated there. She can special delivery She-Hulk. It's not as well as Angela, but she can still do it. And which kind of gets the fight going a little bit decent. Other than that, I think you play her in affiliations where you really want to like force power to her. I think Inhumans is a pretty decent spot for it, where you can just kind of force feed her power every turn. Same thing in A-Force, you can give her an extra power every turn, but that's it. I don't know if she really shines anywhere.
Okay. Okay.
She may
That's fair.
shine in some of the core box if maybe the new other was it Shield affiliation? I don't know what that does. So
Got to spend a power to re-roll a die.
is that what it does? Yeah, never mind. I'm out.
Yeah.
I had no idea what it does. The only 2 characters I've seen in the core box are the 2 we've went over. So,
All right.
but I think like in Inhumans you can kind of play her and
You know,
not feel terrible about it.
I was thinking about it myself, and I think that she could work under Red Skull Hydra, which would be a weird matchup, and it would be pretty tall because you'd have 2 5-pointers right off the bat, but she'd have plenty of power and plenty of rerolls.
Yeah.
That's a thought.
I mean, you also want to play objectives. Like you can, like if you're playing, or you can also make sure you're playing objectives that give you additional power.
Yeah. Infinity formula.
Infinity formula, cubes give extra power. Having
Yep.
those in your list will make you more likely for her to actually be seemingly worth close to the 5 points that you had to pay to play her.
Right. Okay. Well, the only thing that's left is my non sequitur recommendation.
I thought we
So,
already did that.
well, you know what? I'm okay with that. So here's where I am right now. I had fully intended for my non sequitur recommendation this week to be Baldur's Gate 3. But here's the thing: I've not actually played it yet, so I can't do that. I haven't played it yet. So, uh,
It's
I was
Pokemon.
thinking about it. I was thinking about it, and what is the most opposite that I could get from the whole vibe of Carol Danvers? And I think that the exact opposite of Carol Danvers is Evil Dead, is Sam Raimi's Evil Dead, the original movie. This is a fantastic horror movie that is set basically in a cabin. It's a locked in a cabin horror movie where a group of teenagers are suddenly assaulted and start being turned into evil monsters when they open a book they should have never read. It's a classic, and it's a classic for a reason. And that reason is that it's really good, it's scary, and it's also funny. It has a funny kind of twist to its formula, and it is also gross in a good way. I don't know how Sam Raimi is able to do it, but he's able to make things gross, but so over the top gross that it doesn't actually gross you out. It's a great movie, and everyone should watch it. If you're a fan of horror, I should state that it's not good if you're not a fan of horror.
I watched a movie this past week that I think you would also consider a class. I have a weird feeling you would really like it.
What movie?
You've probably seen it. I'm trying to think. It's like, is it Dale and Tucker versus the world or something like
Yeah,
that?
Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yeah.
That's a great
You're
movie.
correct. I have seen it, and I do like that movie a lot. That is a
Yeah.
good movie.
When I was watching it, I was like, this is definitely a movie Fred would love. Like, and I was like, I know he's seen it because I feel like I remember when that movie came out, like it was really popular. I was just like, Fred would like this, and I wanted to bring that up. And it went along with your non sequitur, I feel like.
It does. They kind of have. They're very different movies, but they kind of have the same.
I feel like the
wink to the camera, smile. This is a horror movie kind of deal.
I don't think one exists without the other. Like I
think you're right.
Tucker and Dale. I don't think that exists without Evil Dead.
I think you're right.
I just want to say Evil Dead 2 is better before we leave.
I agree. I think that Evil Dead 1 is a relevant watch. You do need to watch. You don't actually need to watch it before you watch Evil Dead 2. You can watch
you
Evil
really
Dead
don't.
2, and it'll be fine. And you'll have a great time watching Evil Dead.
For people who have,
Evil Dead or Cube, rank them. Go.
Evil Dead.
Cube better.
Dead better.
Cube's better.
I'm giving the actual answer.
Evil Dead 2, it was them making Evil Dead 1, remaking Evil Dead 1 with a bigger budget.
Yeah. And
more experience.
Right.
See, my horror movies are totally different. So, like my favorite is Serpent and the Rainbow.
I've never even heard of that.
Voodoo.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Well, I'm in.
All right. Well, that's going to do us for this week on Crit Hit Wild. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And everyone, go out there and have a nice time. Have a nice time this weekend. Goodbye.
Have a good game.
Have a good game.